I'm about to start on the bass knob, and the problem I ran into is the JL bass knob is smaller than the Rockford. Also, the Rockford bass knob is deeper. They used to have in this location right here. The problem is I have a metal bar in the back. Rockford actually hits the metal bar, and we're not gonna able to install it in the same place. The other option is going in this part right here from the dash. It's actually nothing in the back. We're gonna make a new hole in here and put it in there, and we're gonna come out with something so we don't have a big hole in there.
Now that I have the amplifier in, Fernando has connected the power wire up. We left that disconnected until I had it powered into the distribution block. He did a great job on that. He also finished up all the wiring for the crossovers. Those are in and done, and all our connections are made here. This is our speed wire coming in here and attaching to the factory amplifier plug, and then our wires coming down, attaching into that. So all those connections were made right here. Coming up into the dash is our RCAs, our remote turn on, and he is just finishing up the bass knob, where he put it right here. That has to stay out for right now until we get this put in, and then all the pieces will go in. So the radio goes in first and just kind of stacks out there. Almost in the home stretch. The last thing we have to do getting everything finalized, like all the length and all the wires that need to be zip tied together. And then the last thing is to get the factory USB down here where the radio is. It just unplugs from up top here, and then there's one clip on this side that you just have to remove. And that'll free it up enough for you to pull it down into the dash here. And then we're gonna use the USB GM1, plug into it, and that'll convert it over from mini USB to standard USB. What I like to do at this point is put some shrink wrap over this connection so it doesn't fall apart. Doing a quick head check to make sure that we have all our parts. It's time to start plugging in the radio. When you're plugging in a Kenwood, make sure you read where the camera goes, because they just give you a yellow input. And on this particular model, there's 4 yellow inputs. Well, one is actually an output. Make sure you get the rear camera. The other thing to keep in mind when doing an RR harness, the aux looking connector, there is an iData input for that. Don't accidentally plug it into, let's say, the mic input or the audio out input. And the same is true for the mic. Make sure you plug it into the thing that says mic, and don't be afraid to unplug things and move them around if they're not in an order you like. Lastly is the RCAs. Kenwood goes rear at the top, front, then sub. They're a little bit different than everyone else. Line the kit up, make sure it's exactly where you want it. Trim these 2 screw locations off here because we remove those when we cut in for the dash. Alright, those screw holes are gone. What we need to do now is, before we put it all back together, we want to test it. There's a lot that has to come apart in order for this to, function the way we want it to. Let's test it. The first thing you want to check is balance and fader and make sure it does the cross. Perfect there. What's the weather like today?
It's currently clear and 62 degrees in Clearwater.
Now we're going to move on to actually doing some audio testing. We want to test for polarity to make sure all the speakers are moving the polarity we want them to move. For that, we'll use our polarity checker, and we're using the Sheffield Labs My Disc. It has a polarity pulse that it creates for us, which is this popping sound. And that's going to move the speaker in a defined direction that this will read. And that's it. All the speakers are moving the direction we want. Now we want to move on to setting the gains on the amplifier. As we said, these amplifiers have distortion detectors and clip indicators built into them. First thing we would normally do is play a 0 dB track and see where this clips out at. But it's a Kenwood, and you can play them all the way up. They don't ever distort out of the outputs, which is nice. So we'll move right on to playing a -5 dB track, both 40 Hertz and 1000 Hertz, from our phone, because this does not have a CD player. I've downloaded the discs onto my computer at home, dropped them onto a Dropbox account, and I can access the Dropbox playlist from here, and that's how I do it. For you guys that are wondering, like thumb drive or whatever, Dropbox. When doing a test like this, because you're going to be playing a steady tone, make sure there are no speakers connected to the amplifier, and that includes all crossovers. Make sure there's no crossovers connected either. You can do just as much damage to the crossover as you can to the speaker. Now the nice thing about these amplifiers is that it's easy enough to unclip them, and that's what we're going to do. Make sure when unplugging these amplifiers that you unplug the right side. The plugs are basically identical. These are the inputs. The bottom next to the power is the outputs. The other thing you want to do is unplug the bass knob. According to the instructions, they do not want that connected right now. When you're turning the knob, blue right here is good. Red right here is bad. Now the light right above it is your clip light indicator. That's your input light. So if we were getting clipping, that's where it would happen. We'll turn this down till the blue light just barely comes on. Play a negative 5 dB 40 Hertz test track, and we'll adjust the sub amp. And it works the same way as you're turning it. Blue indicated here is good. Red indicated here bad. Got just starting to get a blue light, blue light. Our gains are set as far as how we want them to be set. We can always go down, but we definitely don't want to go up. Make sure at this point you turn your radio all the way down and or stop your track. Personally, I do both. Plug everything back in. Now that that's done, we can put the dash back together and move on to the actual audio portion of the tune, where we're going to work the EQ a little bit and then set some delays and crossover settings. When assembling this back together, do it in reverse order. Put the sides on first, then slide the center console back into place, then put your airbag and your gauge cluster shroud back on. Fox box is in. The port is on the passenger side. This is what the box looks like. It tucks up underneath the seat pretty well. If you fold the box up, this is those ABS panels I was talking about. They just ride into the carpet here. It's a good way to optimize the amount of space that you have in order to make room for those bigger magnets. Both speaker cups are here on the driver's side. But now that we have the box in, the dash is all back together, time to sit in the car and do a little tuning. Yay! Now for this one, it's a radio. It's not a big DSP or anything like that. The only thing we need is an iTest mic. We're gonna sit in the car, we're gonna play a little bit of music, we're gonna have a little bit of fun and see how it sounds. We're seeing what's going on. We come up with a little bit of adjustment. We're limited on what we can do, so we can do an overall tune. We can't do individuals. Play pink noise, get to how it sounds good, make it a preset. And like that, this thing is done. We've been jamming on this thing for a good half hour. My ears are ringing. Naturally, right? Hey! And it's Mike. He's calling to check on his buddy's truck.
Everything work out all right?
Yeah, we were just wrapping up the video we shot on it. It turned out really nice.
What, the video or the install?
I'm assuming both, but we'll go with the install for
Let's
now.
hope so.
Very happy with what we got going on. It's nice, it's clean, it's crisp, it's fun. Those were the words that the customer wanted. He's like, I want something that I can just get in and beat the crap out of and just have a good time with. And we're like, yeah, we got you, bro.
Sounds loud, and now he has a chair massage with all the bass. Dude, it's a lot, yeah.
Being able to integrate that radio into the factory location was really cool. And that means this video is over. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Fernando.
Until the next one, guys.
And hopefully it won't be an F-150 or a Raptor. However,
maybe it's gonna be.
I'm pretty sure it's gonna be.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Have a great night as always. We'll catch you later next time.
Bye.